Tessa Blanchard, after her very bad day last weekend, where she tweeted of how women should support one another and open the floodgates to women supporting one another, in opposition to Tessa Blanchard, including the accusation of her spitting in another wrestler's face in Japan 3 years ago and calling her something that I will not repeat. She did indeed win the Impact World title the very next day. Later that, I recorded the show last Sunday. Later that night, she won the Impact World Championship at their Hard to Kill pay-per-view from Sami Callihan. 2 Canadian Destroyers and a Hammerlock DDT did the trick in a 20-plus minute match. That was very good. I mean, really, a lot of the stuff I've seen between the two of them has been very good. Look, she's very talented in the ring. Nobody is denying that. Booker T agrees. Booker T, though, didn't mince any words on his Hall of Fame show with what he thought about Tessa Blanchard winning the world title. You could see the clip, you can see the video on the Reality of Wrestling YouTube channel. But this is what he said. It kind of made news this week, so I wanted to mention it. He said, big ups to Tessa Blanchard because she's good. She's really good at what she does, but this is the worst idea that Impact Wrestling has ever had in the history of their company. I don't know. Let me just stop there. I cannot say I agree with that. You think of all the stupid shit this company has done over the years. That's a bold statement to make. I wouldn't go that far, but he says, it really is. He goes, it's really that bad. It's worse than paying me $10,000 for a 6-hour power commercial that never aired. Well, that does sound like something TNA would do. He says, that's how ridiculous it is. Now all the men in the company, if they wrestle her, if she beats them, it diminishes every guy in the company. I can't see the man, Becky Lynch, wrestling Samoa Joe or Brock Lesnar. I mean, this is the worst idea in the history of wrestling. It makes me wonder if somebody is trying to blow this thing up on purpose. It's like somebody saying, man, let's see how bad we can mess this up. If Tessa Blanchard goes back and wrestles women, she should be able to beat all of them. Now the women that beat her, or the woman, let's say, that beats her, she'd be able to go out and beat me too. The crossover of intergender wrestling is something that's for independent companies. If they want to be looked at as an indie group, keep doing stuff like this. I see where he's coming from. I was never much a fan of the intergender stuff in Lucha Underground. And you guys know I love Lucha Underground to death. It's my favorite show for a long time. Yeah, the mixed tags didn't really bother me so much, but the singles matches, I was never a fan. I disagree on Tessa and Sami specifically, though. I think that Tessa is one of the better women probably anywhere in the world right now inside the ring. So as a one-off story, I thought that it worked. She was believable in their matches together. I think there's a good way and a bad way to do this. Having the right people is very important. You could have put another woman in there and it would have been completely unbelievable. And some people probably do think it's completely unbelievable. They have the right people, I think, working in this situation. Tessa was the right person. If they were going to do something like this, she was the right person to do it with. And so, and the reason I say it's the right people to do this with, Sami Callihan, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not the most physically imposing person in the world. It's not like she was in there wrestling the Big Show. Now, the only thing is, now they need a plan on where to go from here. How long are they going to keep the championship on her? How many men is she supposed to plow through until she drops the title? But he's right. Becky Lynch against Brock Lesnar, that just don't work. I got an email the other day. I was going to use this in the mailbag, and then I said before I started the show today, I said, you know what? This is the right place to include this. But I got an email the other day from Michael in Liverpool, proposing an idea. He said, I know this may be ridiculous and you may bash it or whatever, but let me just, hear me out, he said. And it was an idea for Ronda Rousey to enter the Men's Royal Rumble match this year as a surprise entrant and toss out Brock Lesnar to win the Rumble and then go on to challenge him for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. And Michael, I love you, brother, but no. The answer is no. Can you even imagine? Can you even imagine that? Especially after the way that Lesnar has been booked to dominate every single person on that roster the last 8 years. Think of all the people he has beaten, that he has beaten quickly and decisively and with one F5. And he can't beat Ronda Rousey? Or even if he does end up beating her, because he didn't say that she had to win, but even if he does end up beating her, you're not going to send them to the main event or one of the main events of WrestleMania and have the match go 20 seconds. They wouldn't put Ronda Rousey in that situation to lose and look like a fool in 20 or 30 seconds. So let's say she loses, but she's hanging with Brock for like a good 10 minutes. I mean, how do you justify that? I mean, look, I know it's pro wrestling. We got dead men shooting lightning bolts and leprechaun courts underneath the ring, but with some things, to steal a phrase, if I may, from Hulk Hogan, that don't work for me, brother. Speaking of people that have used the N-word, back to Tessa. She broke her Twitter silence after several days to post this statement, refuting the idea that she ever used a racial slur against anybody. She said, "Over the last week, I've been accused of calling a fellow wrestler a racial slur. To read this allegation has been personally upsetting. To be clear, I absolutely did not use that word. That word is not in my vocabulary. That word is not in my heart. Racism is not in my heart. Yet I know many people have to deal with racism in a way that I will never have to. Racism is an awful part of American history, and it is equally awful that it's still part of our society today. While I did not do what was claimed, I stand ready to use my platform to support the fight against racism however I can." So no apology. Quite the opposite, in fact. She is doubling down on her initial denial on Twitter. No mention of the spitting. She's very laser focused on the racial aspect of this. No mention of the spitting and whether or not she did that. But she's very upset about the N-word that she absolutely did not say. Even though multiple people say she did. Including the woman that she allegedly spit on and said it to. They're all liars. They're all lying. That's what she's saying. It's a conspiracy. They're all liars, and I am telling the truth. Don't believe them. Believe me. They're all lying. Even her good friend Tommy Dreamer told Busted Open Radio, he said, "Sometimes in the heat of battle, you say things that you will regret." Looks like they didn't coordinate their stories very well. She says it didn't happen. He says, well, look, in the heat of battle, shit slips out. It happens to the best of us. They got to get on the same page here. He also said that she dated a black man and is engaged to a Mexican man. So how could this woman be racist? Now, Dreamer is a colleague of hers at Impact. He feels the need to stick up for her when she's being ganged up on by everybody else. I get that. He feels he has to stick up for her. And then there's another coworker of hers in Joey Ryan, the dick flip guy. The easy winner for Sad Tweet of the Week, who tweeted this out before deleting it like a coward. He pulled the old tweet and delete. We've seen a lot of that lately. We saw that with Gabe Sapolsky the other day. I was considering that whole exchange with him and David Starr talking about wrestler pay your workers, and Gabe went on this Twitter tirade. I mean, there were like 20 tweets in a row, this one giant thread, and then he just deleted all of it. But he does that all the time. He'll shoot his mouth off and say something. He'll get all riled up about something, or he'll go after somebody if they go after him, and then he just deletes all the tweets. He doesn't want any record of it whatsoever. Of course, people took screenshots. You can't delete. Once it's on the internet, you can't get rid of it. But then all this Tessa, I said, I can't do this. If I did sad tweet, the way things have been going the last few weeks, if I covered every sad tweet, this show would be nothing but sad tweets. I could have a separate podcast I do every week, just the Sound Off Sad Tweet Edition. With all the stupid shit that I have seen posted just in the first few weeks of 2020. It's unbelievable. But Joey Ryan takes the cake this week. He ended up deleting it, but here's what he said. Clearly this was written in reference to the whole Tessa drama. He didn't mention her by name, but it's pretty obvious what this was in reference to. He said, Twitter outrage isn't real. It's just people who weren't supporting the product anyway. I'll get a ton of Twitter backlash for this tweet, but it won't affect my bookings or my money. It is rich how Joey Ryan goes after Jim Cornette for racist comments. But when it's a friend of his, when it's somebody he works with, oh, the outrage isn't real. And who cares? Because these people weren't watching our show anyway. It won't affect my wallet. So who cares? A profile in courage is Joey Ryan. Anyway, Rob Van Dam. There's more Impact news. Oh, it gets better. Rob Van Dam also appeared on that Hard to Kill pay-per-view. He beat Brian Cage in a pretty short match. Cage got busted open. I think he came into the match hurt. He had some kind of bicep injury. So they got him out of there. They bring out Daga to wrestle RVD, Mr. Tessa Blanchard. And RVD beat him as well. So then on Impact this week, they aired a vignette. With RVD, he was celebrating his great night at Hard to Kill. He was celebrating. He was in bed with his girlfriend, Katie Forbes, and her girlfriend, both wearing almost no clothing. They had their nipples blurred out. They had cream, shaving cream or whipped cream or what. I would assume it was whipped cream. I think they were eating it. You don't want to eat shaving cream. That doesn't sound very appetizing. But they had cream all over their nipples. The implication is that when this segment was over, they were going to have a torrid three-way in the bedroom. RVD is just living his best life these days. He probably got himself a sweetheart deal with Impact to do minimal work. He gets to bring his real-life girlfriend and her real-life girlfriend on TV now for these segments, for these skits. And that's not just the gimmick. I mean, that's how he's living his life these days. It's an amazing life for Rob Van Dam here in 2020. So, unfortunately, for Impact, they aired this on their Twitch channel. They have this partnership. In fact, last July, they announced that they were extending their partnership. It had been going so well with Twitch that they were extending it. And they were putting a lot of their content on there. I know they were putting their full shows on there. I don't know if they still do since the move to Access or not. But there were a lot of people who could not watch Impact because it was on these networks that nobody had. You know, they went from Destination America and Pop TV and all these different channels to the Pursuit channel. It was a pursuit just to find out if you even had the channel, which most people didn't. So a lot of people were watching the Impact content on Twitch. Without that, they really would not be able to have watched the shows. That relationship now appears to be on shaky ground, if not permanently damaged, after they were banned from Twitch. Presumably because of that very risque RVD segment. You know, Twitch is very sensitive to showing that type of stuff. I mean, YouTube is as well, but from what I understand, Twitch even more so, is very sensitive to showing that kind of stuff, showing too much skin. And to be fair to Twitch, I mean, this segment absolutely looked like something straight out of a stoner porn movie. I mean, these women, their bare asses hanging out, their bare breasts were hanging out. I mean, the gaming community, they must have been having a heart attack watching this. We must protect the gamers at all costs. So Impact has now been Twitch banned, at least temporarily. Supposedly they're trying to get this overturned. They're trying to work with Twitch. They still have an agreement in place with them. I can't imagine this ends up going on for much longer, but last I checked, they're still banned. I tried to go to the page. It doesn't come up. They were fucking banned from Twitch. Now, look, if they were going to be banned for a while or permanently, they could just put more of their stuff on their YouTube channel. They have a YouTube channel with over 3 million subscribers. So you can just start putting more content on there. But when I heard this story, I almost didn't even believe it at first. This is the most LOL TNA moment that I have heard in a very long time. The same day that AEW announces an extension of their TV deal with TNT for $175 million, Impact gets banned from Twitch. Which is good news for Josh Matthews because now he can charge his phone.